Before we continue with the analysis, I want to talk to you guys about jerseyfifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that's the latest home shirts, the latest away shirts, tracksuits, or even retro kits, Jersey FIFA has a bit of everything. There really is something for everyone, so if you are interested, then make sure to use the link in the description down below and head to jerseyfifa.com. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today, you can probably see straight away, I've got a bit more of my energy back. I'm feeling a bit better, had a day in the sun yesterday, caught the sun a little bit, but I'm feeling better today, so hopefully got a bit more energy, and this week we're really going to crack on the content. So before anything else, make sure to subscribe, get those notifications on, like the video, all of that good stuff. This week we are going ham on content, because like I said, I'm back, I'm in a good mood. Not thanks to the football. The football is dire, the football is awful, the football makes me hate every moment of watching it. Because Manchester United have lost 1-0 to West Ham. And United are really, really close to drifting into this situation where they do not finish in the top 4 this season. And that would be catastrophic. Absolutely catastrophic. It would be a real bad reflection on Ten Hag and some of the decisions that he's made over the course of the season. So, let's talk about what went wrong in this game. Because, I'll be honest, it was a case of what went wrong. Sometimes when you get beat by a team like West Ham or, Brighton the other day or whoever it may be, sometimes you have to accept it. You go, they came with a really good plan, which we weren't ready for. They were just very good. I don't think David Moyes done that. I don't think West Ham were great. I think they had some really good individual performances. Declan Rice was absolutely phenomenal and showed why he is an £150 million player, because he was quality. He was the best player on the pitch. But, I don't think West Ham came with a great game plan. I mean, in the first half, United started pretty well. I actually missed the first 20 minutes of the game, but went back and watched it. Apparently without a tactics board, here we go. I went back and watched it, and United started the game quite well, and it came because West Ham weren't really putting pressure on the ball initially, which meant that United could kind of move the ball through the pitch. We, of course, had Weghorst in midfield, which is always going to make for an interesting dynamic, but United were often able to build possession in sort of a 2-3 shape like this. Occasionally, we did see Antonio putting a bit of pressure on, but between Lindelof, De Gea and Shaw, they were able to kind of 3v1 him. So let's say Antonio goes across to Shaw, Shaw would go backwards to De Gea to Lindelof, and United can play from there. And, first 20-25 minutes, United were on about 80 to 85% possession, really taking control of the ball, often setting up in a 2-3 shape like this. Although there were also situations where it dropped more into a back 3 with someone like Eriksen dropping, Casemiro dropped in between on a few times, a few different players rotating and moving into different positions. Now ultimately it was this movement that was key. I thought United, in the opening stages of the game, did have ways in which they could progress the ball. One of those ways was just pure good movement of the midfielders. We saw Weghorst drifting into these areas, getting the ball, Eriksen, as I've said already, dropping in, but also Bruno Fernandes was able to drop into these positions. Now the reason that this was able to happen was because Tyrell Malacia and Wan-Bissaka were timing their movement quite well. So as Tyrell Malacia is stepping forward, kind of dragging Jared Bowen, Bruno Fernandes takes this opportunity to drop a little bit deeper, and this just causes that bit of confusion between the fullback and the winger for West Ham. And the same happened on the other side as well. Wan-Bissaka would push forward, kind of drags Benrahma, then Antony drops into this space. And United moved the ball forward in these areas pretty well during the first half, because you've now got Casemiro in this area, you've got Weghorst, you've got Eriksen, you've got Bruno Fernandes, and you've also got Antony. So they're really overloading these central areas of the pitch and getting the ball into good areas. And this gave Manchester United real control on the game. They got into good positions, and like I said, they were progressing the ball quite well. Apologies if the video just lagged there a second. I'm not sure if it did or not. I'm not sure if it picked up on recording. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the problems for me in the first half of United were actually when they got into the final third. Apologies for saying United. I know West Ham are United as well, but when I say United, I'm referring to Manchester United. The problem that they had in the final third was a lack of idea a little bit, at times a lack of intensity, but also a lack of width. With Antony and Bruno Fernandes both coming inside, and I mean Bruno Fernandes in particular, literally basically playing as a central midfielder at times, it did give United a lack of width in the final third. Now when you're playing a team like West Ham, what you need to do is really stretch the pitch, and then you can open up those channels in between defenders. Man United didn't really do that. Wan-Bissaka was getting forward, but not on a regular enough basis, and the timing wasn't always right. And the same for Tyrell Malacia on this side. At times he would tuck in, which of course leaves you with even less width, and at times even when he's going round, he's not a great 1-versus-1 winger. If Malacia and Wan-Bissaka are your wide threats at times in certain attacks, that is a little bit problematic for Manchester United, because they aren't that good in the final third. It's not really their game. They're not great in these areas. So I thought it made United look a bit toothless in the first half. They were progressing the ball quite well because West Ham's structure wasn't great. They weren't really putting pressure on the ball. United were able to progress the ball through them quite easily, but I thought in the final third it weren't quite right. I also didn't think that they quite got the movements right, so even if they were able to stretch this West Ham defence, I just didn't think that they got the timing of creating a front five. I just didn't feel like the timing of movement was quite right in that first half. But there were still some promising signs, Manchester United were progressing the ball really easily. They were kind of looking comfortable on the ball, 80% possession, as I said earlier, looking quite comfortable. There was one threat, though, and that was West Ham on the counter-attack. With both fullbacks often pushing quite high, it left Antonio 1 versus 2 against the centre-backs. Now, normally, that's okay, because you got 2 centre-backs to 1 player, so one can go tight and one can cover. Not against Antonio, and not with Lindelof and Shaw. Lindelof and Shaw have been absolutely brilliant recently, some of the only players who can kind of keep their heads held high. But Antonio is physically insane. Absolutely insane. He's so powerful. He is such an athlete. It is absolutely ridiculous. Shaw's a big, strong lad who likes to be physical, but Antonio's just barging him off at times. I really enjoyed the battle. I thought it was a good battle, but it allowed West Ham to get up the pitch, and it just gave them this constant outball. You then got Bowen and Ben Rama also getting forward in support of the attack, and West Ham always looked dangerous in transition. However, from Ten Hag's point of view, it's still not exactly like his side were getting done tactically. West Ham still didn't create any chances. Then that happened. The goal, the decider. I mean, we all know De Gea isn't good with his distribution. He's not great at sweeping. He's not great at claiming crosses. He doesn't control the box very well, and he doesn't instill any confidence in his defenders. At least he's a good shot stopper, though. On the whole De Gea situation, we've got to touch on it because it was horrific. What makes it worse for me is that after the game, we get the briefs from Fabrizio Romano that United are going to extend De Gea's contract, and he's going to be the first choice goalkeeper. Now, I love Erik Ten Hag. I think he's probably the perfect manager for the situation at United currently. I think if backed, he'll win titles. I'm confident. But if it is him making this decision on De Gea, which it may not be. We know how this club is run at times. There's decisions taken away from the manager. We've seen it in the past, especially with De Gea. If it is Ten Hag, though, making this decision on De Gea, he shouldn't come crying to me if he gets sacked in 2 years, because, anyone can see it. Well, not anyone, there's those fans which seemingly can't see it still. People who understand football understand that De Gea isn't right for this team. So, it's not great. It's not great. But yeah, basically, this goal changes the game. Before that, Manchester United are in complete control. They're not creating chances, but they're in control. When you've got players like Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, whoever it may be, if you're in control, those players will often create something. After this goal, the West Ham fans and players are up for it. We get into half-time. David Moyes makes a change in the second half, not in terms of personnel, in terms of intensity. Suddenly, they've got a crowd behind them. They're going to go and press high. Why they didn't do it from the start, I'll never know. Because we all know, if you put Manchester United under pressure, they cannot deal with it. Suddenly, West Ham are pushing so much higher into these areas. I'm not going to move literally all of them, but suddenly they're putting more pressure on the ball in these areas of the pitch, which means that United can't build up, which then means that they can't take control, which just puts West Ham completely in this game and kind of where they want to be. They're 1-0 up, and United can't even get close to their goal. Second half, we saw changes. We saw Weghorst come off. I mean, he was anonymous on the pitch all night, but yeah, didn't notice him coming off. Martial comes on. It was a bit of a weird change. At times we saw Rashford now left wing, but at times Martial was left wing. At times it seemed like Martial was in the 10, a little bit like this. Slightly odd change. I thought it was the right change in terms of personnel, but where he came on was a little bit odd, I thought. But we didn't see these players. We didn't see Marcus Rashford in the second half. We didn't see Anthony in the second half. And it comes from the same problem which we keep on seeing. United cannot build the ball from the back. They can't do it. De Gea can't do it. You've then got a back four. I mean, Wan-Bissaka's not great at it in terms of, his tight passing, his close control. Tyrell Malacia is okay at it, but he's raw. Luke Shaw is playing out of position. He's actually brilliant, But, he's still not used to being put into these situations on a regular basis. Casemiro's not good at dropping into these areas. Christian Eriksen isn't good at dropping into these areas. United had the same problem that they keep having. If a team pushes them a little bit higher up the pitch, puts that little bit of pressure on them, they do not have the first phase player or the second phase player which can get them out of trouble. And it just puts them in the same spot over and over again. We saw it at Brighton, we've seen it at Spurs, we've seen it at Sevilla. There are so many games which you can go to over the course of the season when Manchester United are put into this problem. What can Ten Hag do? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And this is why I think if United get top 4 this season, I actually genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, think it's a really, really impressive achievement. Now, people will say, this squad has cost however much money. Ten Hag spent however much in the summer. This squad is so flawed, it's unbelievable. It's the only squad in the Premier League, in my opinion, which doesn't have a first phase midfielder. Probably the worst ball-playing goalkeeper in the Premier League, and no first phase midfielder. No second phase midfielder. Tell me a player here which excels in the second phase, or the first phase. Luke Shaw. No one else. Bruno Fernandes is a final phase player. So is Rashford, so is Martial, so is Antony. Casemiro and Eriksen. Eriksen especially. He's a final third player. Casemiro is more about what he does off the ball rather than what he does on the ball. Same with someone like Wan-Bissaka. Manchester United are pretty much the only team in the Premier League without a first or second phase player in the midfield. So again, as I've been saying so much recently, I called it 3 months ago, I said these performances are going to happen till the end of the season. What can Ten Hag do? I don't know. I'm going to try and come up with something, right? I'm going to spend the rest of my day today and also tomorrow trying to put a video together on kind of maybe some tactical changes which Ten Hag can come up with. Maybe it's going to have to be something a little bit obscure, a little bit hybrid to make it work. But maybe something which Ten Hag might be able to do to kind of get this team over the line for top 4, because they really, really need it. At the moment, I have no idea what that suggestion is going to be. It's going to take some research. It's going to take some hours. The bags under the eyes might be even worse after this one. But we'll get there. We'll figure it out. Because it's the same problem over and over again. Like I said, do I think West Ham were great? Not at all. I thought they were good. Like I said, I thought Declan Rice was fantastic. Antonio was good. Souček Paqueta played really well. One of his better games in a West Ham shirt. But they didn't do anything particularly special. Tactically, Moyes didn't do anything great apart from push the team a bit higher in the second half, kind of put pressure on the ball, use the physicality of his midfielder to win those duels. And it was too much for Manchester United. Combine that with just error-stricken team. And West Ham win. Did they deserve to win? Probably just about. Although even then, I think that's being a bit generous. They didn't create a chance all game. They just shot. They just kicked the ball at a goal and went, that might go in. Probably not. Oh, it's in. Cool. It weren't a great game of football, I'll be honest with you. But it's the same problems for Manchester United, which desperately need to be solved. We'll try and come up with something. So again, subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you see that video. But in terms of for this one, it's all I've got to say because there just isn't too much to it. It's the same problems, so I'm not going to sit here for 20 minutes repeating myself. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video. As always, get in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the problems were. Maybe let me know some potential solutions to the current issues. Apart from that, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you in the next one.